Greetings, all of my beautiful embers. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I am so sorry that I missed this past weekend. Had a few technical difficulties, but we are back on schedule. I will also be trying something new at the beginning of these narrations. If you have a birthday coming up, please leave it in the comments below, and I will make sure to give you a special shout out before I begin narrating this story. If you already have a past birthday for this year, January 2023, please let me know and I'll make sure to announce that in the next video. And for this month, for what I know so far, a big, very special happy birthday goes out to Kimberly Shepard, a longtime supporter of the Phoenix Fire Narrations channel. Kimberly, I really hope this birthday is very special. Happy birthday, dear. With that being said, let's get started with this chilling tale. This story is entitled, To My Big Brother, written by J.Campbell. March 3rd. I always kind of hated my brother. Well, hate is a strong word. I just always hated how easy everything was for him. He's 2 years older than me, but everything just comes so easily for him. In high school, he was in ROTC, taking courses in criminal justice so he could get a leg up on his law enforcement career, and had a string of friends and girlfriends to make his high school years amazing. He never seemed to study, always retained what he needed for tests, and finished his high school years half a year early with a nearly perfect GPA. He didn't need to. He could have gone straight to the police academy, but he chose to join the army for 4 years, saying it was his duty to his country. He served as an MP and later as a base investigator for base-related crimes. He was practically ready to work police work when he got out. Now he's a hotshot detective, while the only thing I got out of 5 years of high school was unfavorable comparisons to my perfect brother and too many bullies to count. But it looks like his streak may be coming to an end now that this new string of murders keeps piling up. They call him the West End Cannibal, and his crimes are horrific. He meets women online, pretty common in this day and age, and then murders them in their own homes. He cuts them open, sometimes stealing their organs, and they've also found bites and burns on them. The missing organs lead them to believe he's eating them, but they don't seem to have any proof. My brother talks ceaselessly about this guy during our weekly meetups to have a beer and talk about life. This is something he insists on since it gives him a lot of opportunities to talk about himself. My work is so boring that no one in their right mind would want to hear about it. Very little happens to me that would make anyone want to hear about my life, which is probably why I'm still single.
The crux of it is,
my brother told me last week as he sat on his stool at O'Malley's pub.
I don't think the bites belong to him. We've found dental records from 3 different sets of teeth, and one of them came back with dental records on a recently deceased person.
So what? He's a grave robber too? I asked, not really interested, but still wanting to hear him flounder.
The guy's still buried though. We exhumed his body. His wife was right pissed. Found the guy's teeth intact. We're chasing our tails here. This guy isn't giving us a lot to work with, and his body count is nearly double digits.
I pretended to be speculative, but really I was laughing into my beer, adding, my perfect brother, so confident and sure of himself, was being thwarted by some nobody. I had sat on this stool for years, just waiting for a story like this. I know it sounds petty, but I like to see him unsure of himself. It makes me realize that he's just as human as I am. March 12th. There were another 2 murders this week. He called me this time, not having time for a beer as the department scrambles to figure this out.
I just don't get it,
he said, and his voice sounded tired.
This guy is a genuine ghost. We have him picking up his first victim on Tinder, but then a second victim was some random woman from a bar. Jesus, but he really did a number on her. He slashed one of her breasts off completely. We found it in a corner and all of her organs were just strewn about the bathroom. We had kind of thought maybe he was selling them or something, but now he's not even taking them with him. He's just dismembering them and leaving them sitting around.
I pretended to listen, cleaning up so I could get home as I prepared to leave my job, but my face likely looked like a kid on Christmas morning. He was apprehensive about this. He was really worried that he couldn't solve this case. I remembered a year ago as I watched something similar happening, feeling that this would be the moment of his failure and wanting to see it. When he caught the middle-aged cubicle jockey, a guy murdering prostitutes instead of buying a Jaguar like everyone else having a midlife crisis, I watched him crow about it at a press conference and tried not to puke. If pride came before a fall, then his fall was a long time coming.
I don't know what I'm going to do, bro. I've been sleeping like shit, and I think Carol is starting to suspect that I'm cheating on her.
Are you? I asked, ready to put some more arrows in my quiver.
No, of course not.
I made a note of his quick dismissal, doubting it and saving it for later.
But she sees these long hours and jumps to conclusion. I'm out all night pounding the pavement and going over evidence, so I must be out with some whore or someone from the office. I can't understand it. I've always taken care of her and the kids. I don't know where all of this is coming from.
Are you on the job now?
Yeah, I'm driving to the scene now. I'm hoping like hell it's just a copycat, someone who is sloppier than this guy. We've tried to keep this out of the news, but it's almost impossible to keep it quiet when 10 girls get cut up like this. I need to catch this guy. My reputation is on the line here. My boss.
I could hear him reach up to rub the bridge of his nose as he paused.
Is really coming down on me about this. Ugh. We're here. I gotta go. Be safe out there, little brother. There is a lot of crazies out there.
I smirked as he hung up, glad to hear he was worried. Maybe this would end his career. Let him see how we normal people lived in the muck of disappointment for a while. Haven't I lived in it for most of my life? Did my parents throw me a party and buy me a car when I finished college? Had they helped me take my state boards and paid for all kinds of test prep he didn't need, and I desperately had? Did they constantly talk about my perfect job and perfect family every time they called to see how I was doing? No, they didn't give a shit about me any more than he did. He just wanted a sounding board for his ideas and someone to nod and tell him, "Sure, bro, you're so right." Maybe it was his turn to be wrong for a change. March 21st. He must be getting desperate. He actually asked me to come and take a look at a crime scene with him. I was just heading to the bar, ready to be regaled on how he could have possibly let this guy kill 13 women and still have no idea who the killer was when he called me. He sounded even more frantic this time. I could tell that the lack of sleep was starting to catch up with him, and he sounded like a cornered animal. I didn't let the glee leak into my voice as I listened to him, but I don't see how he couldn't hear it.
Hey, would you mind giving me a second set of eyes?
Eyes for what?
We found number 14 today. This guy, I swear, he doesn't seem to sleep. He just finds these women and kills them without hesitation. I don't know what to do. I'm coming up with nothing. We found more weird bites on one, and I feel like maybe you should come and take a look. Maybe, I don't know, give me your insight?
Well, I'm no detective. I don't see how I could be of any help.
No, but you work at the mortuary. Maybe you can notice something in the body or notice something on the bites. My guys are coming up blank here, bro. Anything you can tell me would be amazing.
I contemplated telling him that I was busy but thought better of it. Maybe I could help him out and give him some insight. Wouldn't that just burn him righteously? He picked me up near my apartment, and we quietly rode to the crime scene. My brother kept his eyes forward, and he looked like a crack addict as he snuck glances at me. His hair was unkempt, his ordinarily smooth face covered in coarse stubble, and he shook a little as he drove. I assumed he was past coffee and had moved up to caffeine pills as he neared his third week of dealing with these murders. What must Carol think of her husband now that he had completely fallen apart? When we pulled up to the motel, a dingy little place near the interstate, he put a hand on my arm before I got out, and I looked at him darkly. I want to thank you for agreeing to this. It's pretty brutal in there. Nothing I'm sure you're not used to, though. I'm up against it, bro. I don't know what to do. He started crying when he said,
I've never had it this hard. This guy, it's like he's playing with me. He's always one step ahead of my investigators and me, and I don't know what I'm going to do if I can't solve this case. The chief is really coming down on me, and if I can't give him the answers, I will lose my place as squad leader. I need some help. Do you think you could help me?
I almost couldn't hold my smile. He wanted my help? This was like Christmas and New Year's, and losing my virginity rolled into one. My perfect brother wanted my help. I could just freeze it and eat it. It was so sweet. I agreed, patting his hand and telling him that I would do what I could. We moved into the room, and I could see that the body hadn't been moved. The room was a mess, blood everywhere. Little cards with number on them marking organs and little cast-off items. The woman's clothes were lying beside the bed. A long hypodermic needle nestled in the bedclothes beside her cold body. She was splayed out on the bed itself with her dead eyes looking at the ceiling. He let me come in, said he'd explain my footprints if it came up, and gave me gloves just in case. We stood over the bed on opposite sides, my brother looking ready to pop as I assessed the crime scene with my untrained eye.
We got a tip-off about an hour ago. A guy called ahead and had a room key waiting at the desk. He sent the girl in to get the keys and used the prepaid card so that we couldn't track the activity. The card had this transaction and activation notice 2 weeks ago. He activated it with a burner cell that is currently pinging from a landfill, so we assume he got rid of it. He brought the girl in, shot her full of muscle relaxers, and murdered her. There were no cameras around to see him, no clerk to ID him, and nothing. Left on foot about 2 hours ago and left the girl and her car here.
You're sure it was the same guy? I asked.
No, but the MO was the same. Organs removed with surgical skill, a medical-grade muscle relaxer was used to subdue her. No prints were found anywhere, and he left her to be found like this.
Didn't you say he usually killed them at their homes, though?
Yeah, but she was different. Mrs. Melinda Kaur had a husband who was at home at the time of her murder. She brought her lover here so that they wouldn't get caught. Boy, did she bet on the wrong guy.
I took a look around, under the bed and beside the mattress, before moving into the bathroom. I looked studiously around the motel sink and the long plastic tub. Before throwing her heart into the toilet, he deposited most of her organs into the sink, writing "cheater" on the glass in her blood. It was all still as he'd left it. The cops had moved nothing, but it certainly let people know what they were dealing with. After about half an hour of looking, I turned back and shrugged. Sorry, I don't see anything different. Did you, by chance, find out what kind of muscle relaxer the killer was using?
No.
He said with a sigh.
He must have taken it with him.
Well, whoever opened her up knows his way around a set of instruments. The cuts aren't sloppy and the organs were removed with care, but I'm guessing you had figured that out after 14 bodies. He nodded.
Yeah, we've been canvassing the database for doctors, surgeons, even veterinarians. So far, nothing.
I shrugged again. I don't know. You're the cop, not me. All I can tell you is what I see. He sighed.
It's fine. I called you a cab. I really want you to stay and have a look at the scene again. Thanks for your help, though. I really appreciate it.
He was talking on the phone as I left, calling that cab. As he finished, I heard his phone chirp again, and he answered it. I showed myself out, lingering by the door as a gentle sprinkling of rain began. I could hear him talking to someone through the open door, and it didn't sound work-related. He was telling someone about his hard day, about how this case was killing him, and they must have said something that made him laugh, because his next words seemed more upbeat. He told them where he was if they wanted to come visit him at work.
I could use a shower like you wouldn't believe. Maybe I'll get a room as far from this one as possible and tell my wife I'm working late again.
I smirked as the cab rolled up. It seemed my hunch about his extramarital affairs was right. It seems my brother wasn't as perfect as everyone thought. April 4th. My brother just called me, but I doubt he'll be on time. They found another victim, number 20 actually, and my brother was more than a little upset about it. He called me from the scene, and I could hear other cops in the background as he stepped out of the apartment.
Where are you?
He asked, his voice husky. My apartment, is something wrong? He just breathed heavily for a moment as I heard the elevator open and close in the background.
DT is dead,
he said with a little sob as he put his back against the wall in that way he does when news hits him hard. I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't think I know who that is.
Look, I was having a hard time, okay? Carol was icing me out at home. This case was really getting to me, and DT was just there for me, okay?
I nodded, setting the box I was carrying onto my coffee table as I went back for another box. So, you were having an affair. It wasn't a question.
Yes,
he said, sounding like I had wrung the omission out of him. And now this killer you can't catch has caught her. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, you have no idea how much effort it took to pretend like I didn't know her. I had to stand in that apartment smelling her perfume and the smell of her hot blood. And just...
He sobbed again.
But I think I might have finally caught a lead.
Oh? I set down the next box, feigning surprise.
You need to stay where you are, okay? I want to talk to you about what I may or may not know. I need you. I need to talk to you before anyone else talks to you. Can you do that?
I smiled at the phone. I'll be right here when you get here. Don't worry. I'm always here for you, big brother. He hung up then, and I tossed the phone in a corner somewhere as I arranged my boxes. I wouldn't need it anymore. The noose hung over the table like a supervised voyeur. Beneath it sat boxes of evidence, trinkets I'd taken from my victims, the scalpels I'd used to dissect them, and of course. The vial of muscle relaxer I'd taken from the very crime scene you had asked me to come have a look at. I know you'll read this, big brother, so I have to thank you for the tag-along on that one. I had been absolutely certain that you were calling me to let me know you wanted me to come to the station that day. I had just noticed that the vial was missing, a vial with my name on it and everything. I couldn't believe I'd been so sloppy. Your forensics team was sure to find it, and my little plan would be up in smoke. When you asked me to come along, I thought it was a setup. When you asked me to have a look at the scene and tell you what I thought, I was sure it was a setup. When the vial was still there beside the mattress, hidden in a little notch beside the frame, I could have thanked God if I believed in anything so archaic. It was easy to put it in my pocket and continue looking around. Your addled brain was too fixated on your crime scene to see me as more than a mouthpiece for what you already knew. You see, the answer should have been clear from the start. You checked the surgeons, the doctors, the veterinarians. That was a slap in the face, I can tell you. But you never thought to check the people who take fucking organs out of dead bodies every day, you moron! It was easy to stay one step ahead of you. I've been sitting on that bar stool and listening to you detail how you catch criminals for years. I had all my ducks in a row from the first murder. I was one step ahead of you before you even knew I existed. And now, I will be your greatest failure. You will never catch me, big brother, because I will already be dead when you find this journal. This will leave you with a tricky little dilemma. You could inform your colleagues that I was the murderer this whole time. You could admit that you sat across from me and fed me case-specific information while unable to identify a murderer in your own family. You could tell them this, but you know that your reputation will suffer for it and that it will be very difficult for them to trust you after such a revelation. Or you could cover it up, dispose of all the evidence that I have gathered, and pretend that the murderer just stopped killing. You would technically get the win. No more murders means no more shame of being unable to solve them, but you would know, wouldn't you? You would know that I had beaten you, that I had won, and you would have to live with that understanding for the rest of your life. The choice is yours, big brother. I'm about to make mine. Right now. And that concludes tonight's creepy story, written by none other than J.Campbell. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for your patience. As I always like to say, when life gives you fire, become a phoenix. I hope you are all happy, safe, and well. I'll be reading to you soon.